Blake again. Welcome back to another episode of Rescue Boat Revival. And today I thought I'd just give everybody just a quick tour of the deck and some of the spaces of the boat. So yeah, out here at the deck, this is the pilot house. It's a pretty small pilot house. And obviously we've got a helm here, which is pretty cool. Definitely has the baby battleship feel to it for sure, but you know, over here we've got our fire suppression control. All of this stuff is out of date, so you know it's probably great to keep it just in case, but I don't know how functional it is, if it actually works. Some of the shipwrights and some of the guys I've been speaking to say it's probably best to decommission it, because a lot of them are known to or prone to going off inadvertently or accidentally, and they can make a hell of a mess. For the purpose and the use of what I'm going to be using the boat for, I probably don't need it, but probably a good thing to have on board. So yeah, cool. Variety of switches. So as you start the boat, basically you'll get an alarm because sorry, when you power up the boat, you'll get an alarm because there's no oil pressure and whatnot. So these are your cancel switches, and these let you effectively test that the port engine alarm and the starboard engine alarm is working, and then when you've run the boat you can cancel it. Down here, this is our this is the controls for the mercury switches in the event of a capsize or a knockdown. And what will happen if the boat does get knocked down or was capsized, and again I've got bigger problems at that point, but if it did, the mercury switches would trip and it would basically return both the motors to idle. So yeah, obviously you can recover from the capsize and then, you know, resume control of the boat. So this switches here, as far as I can tell, these test the operation of that system. So that'll test that the starboard mercury switch is working, and this switch is seized, so we're not able to do that test. So I'm not sure what we're going to do there. Again, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to retain that system. It just adds another level of complexity to what could be a very simple system that eventually could fail. These mercury switches would be very old. You know, I'm not sure if they're original to 1967, but they'd have to date back to the 80s. And again, just another point of failure. So I'm thinking I probably will remove those. Down here, this is our fire control, fire pump control. So pretty primitive, but it works. And again, from what I know, the fire pump is seized, so this will probably all come out. I don't have any intention of running any fire pumps. Don't really feel as though I'll need to. I'll have a few deck washers, and then, you know, if there ever was an emergency, you can always just deck wash pump. Obviously compass, this has actually been just recently serviced and it has been tuned, so that's looking pretty good. Right here, these are the nav lights, towing lights, and the floodlights up the front, so it's pretty sweet. This is the new switch for the windlass that I'm about to install. Here are the hatch go no-go indicators. So of the 5 hatches and watertight doors on the boat, these are for the boat to remain self-righting and effectively unsinkable. When you're underway in rough seas, you have to have these 5 hatches closed and sealed. So that's basically what this indicates, whether or not they're sealed. They're just magnetic strips on the various hatches that, you know, indicate they're closed or not. So it'd be interesting. Some of them do work, some of them don't. So it'd be interesting to see if I can clean them up and get them going again, because they'll be good to have. No strips here, absolutely no idea what these do, but we'll find out once we put new batteries in the boat. That switch there is seized. This is our instrument illumination, and again, no idea what these two do, but I'm sure we'll find out. And these are our wiper motors down here. The helm is really cool. Like I really do enjoy sitting at it. Obviously, you can just use it like the forklift, you know, style. But if you can see here, you can just see you've got a rudder attitude indicator, so you can actually see the degrees and the position of your rudder. So I think that is great, really good. It's all mechanical steering, it's all driven by drive shafts and universal joints. Over here, these are our obviously our gauges for our motors, the port and starboard, so we've got volts, oil pressure, the hour meters, engine water temperature, and meters, which both of these, actually this one obviously doesn't work because it's got no needle. This one apparently does. I did see it flickering around. I actually don't know if it works, but look, we can generally just run off the voltmeters as we need to. And gearbox oil pressure, these are probably really important. So yeah, that all looks pretty sweet. And obviously our Morse controls, these actually work pretty well. So it's obviously engage and back, down to neutral, down to reverse, power reverse. So these actually work pretty sweet. I'm actually pretty happy with those. Down here, look, this is where I'm going to be wiring in the windlass. I've just run the cable. Good to see that we have a hooter. I'd love to wait to get the batteries in and fire up the hooter. These are just some redundant accessory ports that, look, they're no longer made. Like the sockets and whatnot are no longer made as far as I know. But yeah, very cool pieces of gear. I will probably have these removed at some point. Engine start and stop. So it's, you know, port start, port stop, starboard start, starboard stop. Just more accessory ports here. We've got a bilge alarm system here running the 2 bilge pumps. I actually don't think this is hooked up, but I think it just runs off basic float switches, and it's an automatic bilge pump just under each motor in the engine room bilge. There's no other bilge pumps throughout the boat as far as I can see, apart from the ones that are engine driven, and I'm not sure if they're working. We have a lot of old redundant radio gear that, you know, for the original VHF and emergency VHF radios. This stuff doesn't work anymore, but I am told the this radar does work, and I'm really looking forward to firing it up. It is going to take quite a bit of learning to understand what all this stuff does, but that's part of the fun. We'll just see if it fires up and if we can do anything with it. Just have to be careful so we don't give ourselves a serious dose of radiation as we use it. Up here we've got our searchlight handle, so this operates the searchlight above the wheelhouse, above the pilot house. Have a few speakers here. I don't think they're operational. We've got an old echo sounder from probably what is 1970. I don't know. It looks bloody old to me. Radio, VHF radio, the ICOM radio, that doesn't work. We've got our master control for the intercom through the boat. It'd be interesting to see if this does work. It's kind of cool, but I think it'll probably end up coming out. The wiper motors in the boat, they all work, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and obviously to the left and the right of the pilot house are the intakes down to the engine room and the fire flaps down the bottom there. So yeah, only 2 seats here, which are pretty Spartan. Looking forward to upgrading those, something a little bit more comfortable. But when you do take position on the helm, it's a little bit difficult. You know, you do have a fairly high commanding view. It's probably hard to get a good shot of what that actually looks like, but it actually is quite comfortable and quite good sitting up really high in the whole house. You've got a good view around the boat, both forward and aft. Oh, towards the back of the boat, so this is the deck of the boat, and basically all it is just the original tow rig that was original to the boat. And we have our floodway spillway here. So basically what happens here is as water crashes or waves crash over the sides of the boat or over the back of the boat or whatnot, it's designed to go into this spillway and drain away through scuppers down the bottom. This is probably the area that has the most rust that we need to address, and I've just lifted up the retaining bolts that clamp this grate down. So we're going to start getting down there and having a look and cleaning this all up, which we might have a look at now. are definitely some parts of this boat that make me feel like I need a tetanus shot just by looking at it. But you can see down here this storage compartment. I'm not sure how that's going to come out. That's probably our worst section of rust on the boat. So basically we're going to just grind all that back, get some rust converting on it and get it primed, and it should come up pretty good. It's largely surface rust, it's not too much corrosion or pitting, which is good, but we definitely got to get onto it before it gets any worse. The reason it's so corroded is these hatches, which you can probably just see here, you know, they are heavily corroded. Because here I got the needle gun onto this section here, and just clean this up, and that's going to be, I'll clean it up with a grinder and smooth it out a little bit more. But I've got to do that with the rest of the hatch lip. But it's just corroded right out. So, you know, as water sort of hits that spillway, it's not sealing and letting water into those areas of the bilge. So it's definitely something we've got to sort out. Down the back here, this area of the boat, this used to be the original survivor compartment, the aft cabin, where you know, when it was used as a lifeboat in England, injured passengers, injured survivors would go into the aft cabin if they were on a stretcher or they needed medical attention. They could receive it there, and uninjured passengers would go into the front V berth, and that's where they'd get their care. But when the boat was when it was moved from New South Wales to Perth, when it was bought and transported over, the operators that had it here in Fremantle obviously didn't need that space, so they had that aft cabin removed. They cut it out and they had a steel deck fitted and a new hatch fitted. So it's quite a good space for storage. It's a good lazarette. We'll jump down and have a look. You can sort of see here, this is again, a lot of the hatches have just sort of been let go, they haven't been maintained, but you can see the water's just basically sat in this hatch lip, and it just corroded right out. So I need to get the needle gun onto this, find out what's salvageable, what's not, and weld on a new base lip and a new lip that comes up, so when this hatch comes down it does seal and keep the water out, and that lip, you know, will plumb this up so it can drain. So down in this lazarette, it's actually, like I said, a good little space. Great for storage if I can keep it dry. I'm probably going to think about installing 2 bunks along here. So, you know, we've got accommodation for 2 more people if they want to stay on the boat. Great area for kids to hang out, you know, like it's actually a good little space. We do, because this hatch obviously is rusted out and needs to be rebuilt, water's obviously got into this area of the boat and just sat, and the previous operators, they weren't too worried about it, so they just left it. It was just fresh water. So we have a lot of surface rust on the plate. It hasn't really done any damage. It hasn't really pitted or corroded the steel from what I can see yet, which is fine. But we've got to clean it up, we've got to seal it, and obviously stop it from rusting. You know, the joy of owning a steel boat, just getting on top of rust, especially if someone else hasn't kept on top of it. So there's quite a bit of work here, but it's not too bad. It's just a bit of scraping, you know, light grinding, priming, painting. So it'd be something to tinker with once we get the boat back in the mooring. To the back of the boat is obviously the stern of the boat, the stern hatch, and this is the last compartment, and this is basically where the rudders and all the linkages associated with the rudders and whatnot are held there. Again, a bit more rust where water's been allowed to get in there and sit, but we are going to clean all that right up. So yeah, bit of fun down here. I think it's going to be very good. Alright, so now we're going to go head down to the bow of the boat. We'll go and have a look here. Alright, so this is the bow. It's actually a pretty good bow. You can sort of see the decks are all riveted, so gives you a bit of an idea of the age of the boat. And this is on top of the main V berth galley sort of area. Obviously houses the spare anchor and just the line box. I'm probably going to take that away. I'll store the anchor probably in that floodway. I'll convert this into a bit of a day bed, you know, somewhere where we can sit, you know, enjoy the sun, you know, while we're underway. If the kids want to sit in the boat, they can also sit up the front of the boat. They can have a bit of fun. It allows us to keep a bit of an eye on them, and yeah, so that'll be good. Towards the front here, obviously this is the main hatch that goes into the front V berth. This is where the anchor winch used to be, and the previous brackets used to be. I'm halfway through grinding that, and that's just got to finish clean that up. And this is obviously a bow point, and a little bit there. So this looks really good. So a little bit of rust to clean up there, nothing too bad. But this is it. A good Furuno radar, searchlight. You can sort of see the farmhouse in the front. So Harbour Conquest, the main companionway is probably about 3/4 length. It's not quite full height. You have to duck to come under it, and you just come down these flight of stairs here. And this is the sort of main, I'll call it, you know, companionway galley. But there's a map desk here. You know, a lot of old redundant systems, a couple of 12-volt regulators, and an old intercom system that is redundant now. Let's just sort of come around. I've got the old breaker board, and again I have to spend quite a bit of time, but a lot of this stuff just so old. Now, more or less, the majority of electronics and wiring is actually functioning. It's just a lot of it's just obsolete and no longer works. All the breakers seem to be somewhat functional, but we're going to run through and test all that. I've actually got an earth leakage indicator. Sorry about the noise, guys. We've actually got an earth leakage indicator, so we can check if there's any stray currents, and I'll be really interested to see if that actually works. And a fuse box for the old radar and the VHF. Off to the left, we've got this doorway that's I'm not exactly sure what it is. It was basically to hang coats. It could be, you know, so maybe some of the later boats it might have been used as a head. At the moment here it's just storage, which is cool. And obviously a kitchen, pretty agricultural, pretty basic. A nice stainless steel little fit out. This is our doorway below the companionway to the engine room. And yeah, and this is obviously the door to the V berth at the front, and you notice all of the areas of the boat, they've got sealed doors. It's a bit like a submarine where you lock them down, and they, as you pull the handle, ratchets all the doors shut to seal them up. As we go into the V berth, so it's got quite a large V berth, and that gives you access to the anchor locker. Heater and a few other things down there. Pretty grim reminder of what we're actually dealing with the lifeboat rescue boat, flares, V-sheet and body bag. But yeah. So all the cabins, and you've got heaps of headroom. Like this is, you know, I'm probably 1.8 meters tall, and there's just mountains of headroom above me, so I can barely touch it, which is good. So it's a really nice big V berth, plenty of accommodation here. You know, hatch out into the wild world. And the anchor well is up here, and you can sort of see someone has gone to the effort of repainting the anchor well, so there's a lot of signs in the boat that the boat has been really well looked after, but we're going to have to go through and see what's going on. There's some corrosion and whatnot. We'll check it out, but this will be one of the first jobs, just sorting out the anchor winch and getting that done. Alright, now we'll go into the Temple of Power and check out the engine room. Alright, pretty dark, so we can get some lights on. Okay, this is the engine room. So we've got two Cat 3208s. And there are our C cocks and our C strainers up the back there. Obviously 2 sets of battery banks. And as we wander through, what about the ordinary field? See, that's our old switchboard that we're going to have to spend a bit of time on, just understand it to make sure everything's working. Oh, it's got various fan switches, work light. These are actually quite interesting down here. These are, the two on the left, well, they're all mercury switches, but the two on the left are designed that if the boat was to get knocked down or capsized, the mercury switches will return both the motors to idle. The one on the right stops the radar from spinning up the top. The port motor drives a fire pump, quite a large fire pump, and that's got a whole systems of hoses and returns and bilges. And this is all going to be decommissioned. Back here, so Seacocks. So again, we'll spend a bit of time working on. Our next set of batteries to the left, and yeah, going to be very cool. I do love this boat, you know, as painful as it is getting through all this grinding and painting, it is just super cool. I just really can't wait to get it in the water and have a bit of fun with it. I think it's just going to be really, really sick. So yeah, hang in there guys, a little bit more work to do. I reckon we're still going to be on the hard for another month. But you know, another month of pain, we'll be back on the water, and I think once I get back on the water, the pressure comes off because I'm not paying, you know, to stay on the hard stand. That's definitely a pretty heavy burden. But I think just working on the boat on the water will be so much more enjoyable. You know, I can take my time. I'm not rushed at the moment. I'm just running around like a mad chook. So yeah, it's going to be good. We'll see how we go. Hang in there guys, appreciate you hanging along for the ride, and hope you dig what I'm getting into. Cheers. Hope you enjoyed that guys. If you want to keep up to date with the live progress on the boat, just follow me on Instagram. And if you dig what I'm doing here, it'd be great if you like the vid and maybe subscribe to the channel. And I'd love to hear all your comments and get some feedback. I've got a heap of content that I'll be putting up really soon, so I'll catch you again soon guys. Cheers.